Hey everyone, it's Lexi. So in today's video, I'll be sharing with you the top 5 books that I ended up reading this fall. So the way this video will be structured is that I'll go over all the books that I read over September, October, and November. And then at the end, in no particular order, I will discuss, go into more detail about some of the books that really stood out to me. As you'll see in this video, that it was kind of a lot of misses and just meh books. So it was a little tricky getting to 5, but these are the ones that, like, when I was looking back at all the books, these are the ones that really stood out. So without further ado, let's get started. So starting out with September, I first read Bury Our Bones at the Midnight Stile by V.E. Schwab, which I gave a 1 out of 5 stars. Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young, which I gave a 2 out of 5 stars. Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. The Bewitching by Sylvia Morena Garcia, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. And lastly, 107 Days by Kamala Harris, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Moving on to October, I first read Catabasis by R.F. Kuang, which I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. The Impossible Fortune by Richard Osman, which I gave a 4 out of 5 stars. And I reread The Grey Wolf by Louise Penny, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And finally, moving on to November, I first read The Black Wolf by Louise Penny, which I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. And Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt, which I gave a 2 out of 5 stars too. First up, I have Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. This book really took me by surprise. I got this as an audiobook from the library, and I wasn't expecting too much from this one. Surprisingly, I really have loved her kind of Jade, like Jade City series or like trilogy. I really loved her writing in there, and this one's kind of very different. It kind of takes place in this fantastical world where we follow this girl whose family, her like mother and brother, were killed by this kind of mythical creature, and so she has made it her passion to train to become one of these like warriors that ride these huge birds that are used to track these kind of very dangerous mythical creatures. It is like a novella, it's a short story, so it's not incredibly long, but it packed a punch. It was the amount of world building that she is able to create in such a short amount of time was astonishing. I was really engrossed in the story and the character and her motivation, but this was one I just wanted more. Like, I wanted a full novel of this one, which is disappointing, but that is a testament to how good her writing is, and I definitely want to pick up my own copy of this one as well to have, because it, like I said, it really kind of blew me away and it was really well written. So if you're looking for, like, especially towards the end of the year, if you want to kind of help read shorter things that can help you reach your reading goal, this is one that I highly recommend you check out. Like I said, I listened to the audiobook and that was well done as well. Sometimes where it was super suspenseful and it really, like I said, took me by surprise, and it was definitely a standout of this season. So I was really excited to, give this one a try, and like I said, it really took me by surprise. Next up, I have a double feature, which is The Grey Wolf and then also The Black Wolf by Louise Penny. The Grey Wolf was a reread for me. I read this last year. It was a new release, but The Grey Wolf is very much a part 1, essentially, to The Black Wolf, so I wanted to have a refresher. Luckily, I felt like I kind of remembered a good amount of it, so I was like, okay, my memory is not terrible, but there were very minor details in this one that were important with this one, and keeping track of all the characters, which I was really, happy that I reread it. But these ones, again, I both gave 5 out of 5 stars. Louise Penny can do no wrong. This is my favorite series of all time, of total series, favorite crime series, all that stuff. This series, this author never lets me down, and these books were no different. The premise of this series is that we follow Inspector Gamache, who's head of the homicide department in Quebec, and we follow his murder mysteries that he's involved in. A lot of his books, especially later on in the series, have some part of it taking place in a town called Three Pines, which is very much kind of like Stars Hollow, which is like this small, tight-knit community, the sense of found family, and just the atmosphere these books create. I want to live in this world. I don't want to kind of spoil too much about this one because they're so interconnected, but they also build on stuff from previous series, so I can't discuss too much about the plot about these two. But this one was interesting because like I said, a lot of the books, even though they deal with murder mysteries or crimes, in Quebec. This one, and they always involve, or there's a lot of, chapters taking place in Three Pines because our character lives there. This one was very much kind of outside of that Three Pines world. And I know a lot of the, critiques I've seen of this kind of duology essentially within this series is that they wanted more Three Pines, but in the author note for the Black Wolf, she mentions that for her own sanity, sometimes she needs to kind of, step away from, Three Pines all the time to kind of, do things that are more creatively interesting, which, I appreciate. And this one was really, interesting. It's very much, I would say, more leaning Hetty into like it leans more heavily into like politics, and especially politics today. A lot of the stuff, especially in the second one, that are very much interconnected with the Grey Wolf, a lot of the themes that are really important are, media literacy, the importance of, I guess like the damaging things of creating lies, and how people need to have media literacy. All these things are really relevant today. There's even mention of the, a certain someone's calling Canada a 51st state, all that stuff. And as a Canadian, this really fueled my fire. So I appreciate her kind of tying in a lot of the, I guess, political unrest right now into these novels. I feel like these novels are very much a reflection of our world, which I really enjoy. So like I said, I gave these a 5 out of 5 stars. It was definitely a lot of fun, and like I said, Louise Penny never disappoints. Another crime novel that I really enjoyed was The Impossible Fortune by Richard Osman. This is the next installment in the Thursday Murder Club series. Basically, the premise of this series is that we follow 4 retirees that live in this kind of very posh retirement village, and how they spend their time, especially in the beginning, is kind of looking through cold cases that have never been solved. But when a murder takes place right on their doorstep, they find ways to then insert themselves into these investigations. And this one, we follow one of the main character's daughters getting married, and the best man approaches one of the main characters and is saying that someone's trying to kill him, and then he disappears, and it kind of goes off from there. This book is just filled with so much warmth and humor, and the dialogue between these characters and the banter is just so much fun. The amount of humor, despite this being, again, kind of dealing with dark subject matter like a murder mystery or stuff like that, is despite those dark themes, there's just a lot of fun with having these fun characters that have these themes of things that are funny and all that stuff. So I really loved this. This one, again, was a lot of fun. I feel like I kind of figured it out, but nevertheless, I still really enjoyed kind of the journey, and the whole thing of the series is just kind of those characters and their relationships with each other. Elizabeth, one of the main characters in this one, in the past book, experienced a great personal loss, so we see her kind of overcoming that grief and learning to live her life again, and I really loved that character development for her and how that played out. So yeah, this is, again, one of my favorite series as well, and this one also did not disappoint. So if you're looking for a murder mystery that's a little bit more lighthearted, definitely recommend this series. And lastly, this was an audiobook that I listened to, and it is 107 Days by Kamala Harris. This is kind of her memoir of the 107 days it took her to basically do the campaign of last year, and it was heartbreaking. I listened to the audiobook for this one, and I would get teary-eyed at times because you can't help but feel hopeful, and like just the amount of momentum that was riding on this campaign, but the ending, and it's just really hard to hear that. But it was very interesting to see her kind of account on things and what she was thinking and feeling during this time, and it was very vulnerable. I felt like there were times where she's like, oh, I could have done better, I should have done something different, and it was very interesting getting that perspective. I think it's a very important read, especially with the state of America right now. It's just very upsetting to be like, this is a woman who's so qualified, probably the most qualified person to be president during that election, and just everything that planned out. Like I said, it was so upsetting to read because you know what happens, and you can't help to get your hopes up and all those things. But it was very interesting kind of seeing what her perspective was like and how it was for her. I think this is a very important read. You may not agree everything with her politically, but I think she would have been a really great leader, and especially everything that's happened over the course of this year, you can't help but think, you know, what could have been, like what could have happened, what could have been different. So it just, I'm very frustrated. As a Canadian living in the US, it's very frustrating. But this, like I said, it was not a fun read, it wasn't an easy read, but I think it was a very important read. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what some of your favorite books were of the fall season and all of that fun stuff. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.